Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about a huge issue, and it's how to solve the Canadian housing crisis. My name is Tom Story. I'm a local realtor here in Toronto. I've run a real estate team here for almost a decade, and I've seen prices go up almost double every 10 years. The housing crisis in Canada has been an issue really like for the last 50 years, but it's just continued to get worse with house prices going up. And obviously I'm just waiting for someone to type that comment and say, Tom, you're a realtor. Don't you love house prices going up? You're just gonna earn more commission. But the reality is we have so many clients that can't even get into the market because of the way that housing prices are going. And the way that this is such a hard issue is you have the one side of landowners, landlords, people that have real estate portfolios that love what is happening with housing because it has made them very, very wealthy. You have the other side of the people that are not yet in the market and are trying to find ways and maybe could afford what that monthly mortgage payment would be, but that down payment they just can't save for. It's hard to get ahead. And the reality is, what I've seen so far in the Toronto market for me selling here in the last decade is equity redistribution. The rich become richer because the family that already has the house for the last 30 years, which is now worth $2 million, they sell it, they give some money to the kids, which helps the kids get into the market, and then the kids ride the wave, they make 200 grand, they sell their condo. You get where I'm going here? It's tough. It's like the game of Monopoly. You own land, you become rich, and everybody else rents, but they don't get ahead. So let's talk about 5 things that Canada could potentially do that could make housing more affordable. Maybe these won't actually solve the housing crisis, but I think they actually could make a difference. And I want to give a shout out to the Huffington Post. I'm taking these 5 points from an article that they put out in 2019. I'm going to link it below, so all the resources are going to be there for you. But just before we get into each of these 5 points, I want to say there's really 2 main themes here. One is interest rates. If interest rates went up, housing prices would fall. That's just a reality. But they are so low right now, and the Bank of Canada understands this, that if they raise them too fast, even though we have the stress test in place, a lot of people wouldn't be able to pay their mortgage. And it would cause a huge issue for all of Canada. So it's a double-edged sword with everything here. The other thing is supply, and this is really the big issue. No matter what anybody says, supply is it. If there's not enough supply, housing prices go up. And there has been not enough supply in most of the urban cities, Toronto, Vancouver, I guess you could say Montreal, for a long time now. And even areas that had, bad markets, whether it was Edmonton or Calgary, in the last year and a half, 2 years, have been pretty darn good. So let's talk about these 5 things that could be done, but likely probably won't, to solve Canada's housing crisis. The first idea is to dezone the suburbs. Okay, so unlike cities, suburbs are inflexible, meaning they have very strict zoning laws in place that you can't really change what's been done. So you can't really add more housing. The suburb is the suburb. They could build more of them around potentially, but the suburb is there and it's not going anywhere. Unlike the city where you could adapt and make changes for zoning, the suburbs are the suburbs. So if they stay with the zoning that they are, house prices will likely continue to rise in those areas because there's not new supply coming to the market. Number 2 is allowing more urban sprawl. So in the market that I work in, we have the greater Golden Horseshoe, and there's all these areas where we cannot build real estate. And it's been shown that cities that have larger urban sprawl have lower house prices. Right, at the end of the day, we're just coming back to, if we can build more homes and have more supply, housing prices will not go up as fast. The problem is, in a lot of Canada, specifically Toronto, we can't build in a lot of areas, so less supply means more demand, means housing prices are going to continue to move up. Number 3 is a bit of a controversial one, and it's actually limiting immigration. So immigration is great. It's what makes Canada so great, specifically what makes Toronto so great. I love living here because of all the different people that I get to meet and the cultural things that I get to do that I would have never experienced if I lived somewhere else in the world. And immigration on the surface level should not be an issue for housing prices as long as the supply is there. But in Canada, for a long time, we just have more people coming in than houses that we are building, right? So immigration, population growth means that housing prices will go up if we don't continue to build the supply with the people that are coming into the country. Now, typically Canada had goals of 250,000 immigrants coming in per year. Trudeau had said basically in 2020 that the goal for the next 4 years was 400,000. Right? So we're upping the amount of people coming in, but we're certainly not building that difference in housing supply. So it's just as simple as population growth which is caused by immigration, makes housing prices go up. So one of the ways that you could technically bring down housing prices or solve the crisis is allowing less people into the country. Reducing immigration could solve housing prices. Number 4 on the list is to build large-scale community housing projects. Now, one of the things that we've seen is that when you put a lot of community housing into one specific area and they all surround each other, that's when areas kind of get bad reputation. So community housing has been spread out. But the reality is in Canada, we haven't had these large-scale community housing projects since the 70s. And when that's not happening, there creates more demand for the people that need this type of housing and have no other options. They're on wait lists 5 to 7 years to get an opportunity to live in subsidized housing. So if you built more community housing, it would be better for everybody that needs those services that right now is potentially sitting on a waiting list. Number 5 is to bring back the incentives to build rental housing. So up to about the 1980, Canada had highly subsidized building of these rental buildings, and that's why you see a lot of the old concrete buildings all across Canada that were built, 80s, 90s, 70s, and a lot of people live in those buildings. Brand new purpose-built rentals have not really been a thing. Sure, there's a few of them here and there, but there was actually a time in 2015 to 2017 that a lot of people were going to build these purpose-built rentals, but then at least in the Ontario market, we had rent control come into effect, and people just said, well, this no longer makes sense. The developers, the pro formas didn't make sense anymore, and they turned them into condos or canceled the project. So a lot of the rental supply right now is actually condo buildings, but they're individual owners renting out. So that's when you see all those condo towers going up and you're saying, oh, people are leaving those empty. And no, condos create a ton of housing supply because they go up. And we're actually taking advantage of the land that we have because you can put so many people into a condo, but only so many people into a subdivision. And that's why condos are more affordable. If we found new ways for people to build more rental supply, that would also help the housing market with prices. Consider this, about 35% of the Toronto population rents, but only 6% of housing supply came new from rentals from 2011 to 2016. So it's a big issue right now why rental prices have skyrocketed the last decade in Toronto, but specifically in Canada. I'd love to know your thoughts. Was there anything that I didn't touch on or something that you think could help with housing prices in Canada? Because the reality is, and it's showing over the last 10 years, whether the Conservatives are in power, whether the Liberals are in power, housing prices just keep going up, and it's a supply and demand issue. And it's a hot topic issue because shelter is a basic necessity of life, right? Food, water, shelter. It's an important thing. So I don't have all the answers. I'm just sharing the answers that have been put out there in the past, but the reality is none of this has been done. And with all the housing plans from all the governments right now for the upcoming election, realistically, unless interest rates go up, because that will limit it, or unless more supply is created, housing prices are probably going to stay the same and continue to slowly move up over time, like they have over the last 40 or 50 years. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to book a buyer consultation, a seller consultation, or just a call with me, you can easily go onto our website and do that. Pick a time that works best for you. Have an amazing day, and remember, home is where your story begins.